just setting up. But as long as Scott goes first, he will be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as we mentioned already, Daniel does have those 2 weakness policies, which could help him out. So he'll go straight up into this game. You see, Daniel is going to go first, so that's already a pretty big advantage. He's going to go for an Ultra Ball, he's going to guard a Bursting Balloon, and it looks like it's going to be a Trevenant. So he's probably just going to dig for maybe another Phantom or a Shaman here. We see he does have a Wally in hand from what I see. I saw a bit of green there from the full art, so we should be able to use that to evolve into Trevenant, which is already a great start for Daniel.
Yeah, just turn 1 Wally Trevenant. He had to take the Shaman EX to draw more cards. Wally being the only supporter he has in his hand. He can still thin out his deck a little bit with Trainer Mail, but there isn't really a lot he can hit here. He already discarded one of the Bursting Balloons, which he might need, but he's also facing a Seismitoad EX, so both players going for item lock could be a very awkward position.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, both of these decks are semi-reliant on a lot of items to do their things. Maybe Daniel a little bit less. I mean, the main thing that gets shot off after the first setup is just the Bursting Balloons to do that extra damage. But of course, Scott playing a very heavy item support engine because he is playing that Max's Hidden Ball Trick engine to get the Gallade out. Gallade might not be something he necessarily wants to go for in this matchup. Of course, even the nice thing about it is that even with the resistance, Gallade does one hit knock out a Trevenant because does 130 and then minus the 25 to resistance is 110, which is still enough, but it won't be enough to deal with a Trevenant break, for example.
Yeah, exactly. But with Daniel going first, Scott had a very low chance to just get all of this out. And now we have the decision from Daniel is, do I set up now or do I set up later? When he set up later, he has the risk of getting Quaking Punched. But if he doesn't set up, Scott might play Lysander, Ultra Ball Shaman, a lot of time puzzles for more Lysanders, and then just Lysandering out of the item lock quite often.
Yeah, indeed. Now we see that Daniel did not draw another Phantom. If he had, it would have been ideal to put it down because it doesn't make any difference to the whole, potential to Lysander, something that isn't a Trevenant, and enable items again. But we see Scott is actually just going for the double colorless energy onto the Seismitoad and Professor Sycamore discarding quite a lot of cards. I mean, granted, a lot of them are items, so you wouldn't be able to play them anyway, but yeah, perhaps not ideal to discard too many resources in that first Sycamore.
Yeah, of course. So Scott plays also a few unknowns, so he Sycamores and gets 8 cards. We see the Evital EX, which deals a lot of damage against Trevenant because of the weakness. The weakness policy might become a problem. Another thing we might mention is that Seismitoad EX has 180 HP and 3 retreat cost. So while under item lock, it's hard to retreat, and Trevenant Break deals 30 damage to every Pokemon your opponent has. So having Seismitoad active, but it might become hard to attack with something else. Seismitoad Quaking Punch, 30 damage. It takes 4 hits to knock out the Trevenant, and even more to knock out the Trevenant Break. Daniel also actually gets the Xerosic to discard the double colors energy. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Trevenant Break, but because of the Dimensional Valley, he's able to attack with Tree Slam. 60 to Seismitoad, 20 to both of the other active bench Pokemon.
Yes, indeed. And so with 2 more Tree Slams, if Scott is unable to retreat this side, it will be knocked out. However, Scott does have another double colorless energy, so he attached that to the active and just goes for another Quaking Punch. The one problem that Scott has with doing this is that, of course, because he isn't able to attach anything like a Muscle Band to do more damage or even a Fighting Fury Belt, he's stuck at really doing 30 a turn, and like 30 against either lots of 30s or 60 and 2 10s. It's not just the numbers just don't really work out in Scott's favor there.
Yeah, and here we see Daniel going for Delinquent, discarding his own Dimensional Valley. Now he needs 1 extra energy card to attack. Yeah, as we see the Dimensional Valley actually hitting the discard pile. He has another one, however, so that won't be a problem. And now Scott has less resources. So in case he gets a Lysander, there are not so many chances for him to get the cards. And since, well, he needs to, in theory, he could knock out this Trevenant now if he has a good combination of cards, but because of the Delinquent, the chance of having this combination is very low.
Yeah, indeed it is. And it looks like Scott doesn't really have anything to work with in terms of drawing more cards. It doesn't seem to have a draw supporter, otherwise he would have played one by now. And so it looks like it's very likely that the Seismitoad is just going to get knocked out. And unless he finds a Zoroark, so will that Zoro on the bench, because of course it only has 60 HP. So another sort of 20 damage light from Tree Slam will be enough to get the knockout.
Yeah, so a 3 price card turn. However, Scott Stott, I don't think that he has a big problem with this, because he uses Quaking Punch again, and Daniel only has Versus Seeker in his hand as the only draw card. So Scott just promotes his Evital, and then is able to knock out the Trevenant, and even though Daniel gets a lot of prize cards, he is on the upper hand, because Daniel again then needs just the Pumpkaboo to evolve into Trevenant, energy cards. He really needs to draw something now.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for Daniel was the fact that he didn't really see many other Phantoms early on. You see, he's got one in his hand now, so he probably just got one from one of those free prize cards he took. And as you said, see, this Evital here will be able to Oblivion Wing for the knockout on the Trevenant. And then what Daniel did there, which was quite smart, he sort of preemptively attached a Psychic Energy to the Shaman. This means he already has a resource on there to be able to retreat into the Phantom. And then, of course, with Dimension Valley being in play, he'll be able to use the Ascension attack straight away to evolve into Trevenant and lock Scott out of his item cards again.
Yeah, exactly. So having this item lock active the whole time is very important for Daniel, so he really needs to attack with his Ascension now. And like you said, attaching energy to Shaman is important, then he can retreat. He already has one energy attached to his Phantom. By this he prevents him from not drawing an energy later, so if he doesn't want to attack with a break but with Tree Slam again, which is quite important against the Evital. 130 HP, it deals 60 damage for 1 energy against Trevenant. Not really what you want. He was also good to put 20 damage on the Evital, because now if he attacks with Tree Slam twice, the Evital will be knocked out.
Yes, indeed it will. Now we see now Daniel opting to maybe discard another Trevenant. Now, if what I've seen is correct, I don't think he can afford to do that, because he discarded one Trevenant earlier off of an Ultra Ball. One's just been knocked out. So if you would discard that Trevenant XY, that would be his free Trevenant XY's gone. So
I'm pretty sure he shuffled one of them back with Super Rod very early.
Okay, so it's not the end of the world then, but it's still all the same. He really wants to. He can't just sit the rest of the game on just this one Trevenant here, so he really wants to get out another Phantom and then have at least 2 Trevenants to be able to.
The Phantom is quite important here, and also Daniel should. I'm not sure. He could take the risk and play Shame and draw cards, but if he draws a Trevenant, then he will be in a big trouble.
Yeah, it certainly did seem that way, and he's really debating this decision because obviously this is quite big. He can take the risk with the Shaman and then hope to draw another Phantom, or he can just. Oh no, he already has a Shaman in his hand.
Yeah, he does have the Shaman,
okay,
yes.
so no, he doesn't really need to search on this Ultra Ball then, so yeah, you probably will just go for a Phantom here, but it seems like there's something being discussed.
Yeah, the only decision here to make is, well, he most likely get Phantom or Wobbuffet, which is also a card he has in his deck. This is helpful to deal with the Evital. This is one of the cards that can deal actually a lot of damage. There is like kind of damage cap Evital he has. The Trevenant has, so it only deals like 30 or 60 damage maximum to one Pokemon. So if he just wants to knock out the Evital, he needs to do something, either attacking twice with Tree Slam, which would be, I think, the preferred option in this situation, or using Wobbuffet.
Yeah, yes, indeed, and also, of course, not only that, but if that Wobbuffet were to go into the active spot, Scott would not be able to use any abilities to, like such as Shaman, to just draw through more cards or, and just advance like that.
Yeah, exactly. There are 2 Pokemon that both have a locking effect when they're in the active spot. Also, while he doesn't want to draw Trevenant when he uses Setup in this turn, he wants his weakness policies. If he gets the weakness policy here, then Oblivion Wing. Then Oblivion Wing only deals 30 damage, which was the Trevenant lasts longer. So there is a risk here to take, which could be. He just goes for the setup, draws Phantom. Here we see the chance of hitting weakness policy, which he unfortunately doesn't, but better than nothing. He grabs the Battle Compressor.
So just to explain what happened there, it seemed like there was a misplay there with the Ultra Balls. So Daniel took the Ultra Ball back to his hand and took back the 2 VS Seekers as well. So that was just all that happened there. And so we see now he's gone for the setup. He has a lot of things to work with right now. He's got a bursting balloon, so you might want to attach that. He's got a battle compressor to go as well, so you can use that to send some of his extra supporters to discard pile to use with those VS Seekers that we know he has in hand. Just a lot of different options to try for, including, you see he's got a Wally there and a Lysander. Yeah,
seeing the battle compressor, we were talking the whole day about Daniel, because I feel like he has the Trevenant deck with the highest chance for turn 1 Wally, because he plays 4 battle compressor for Versus Seeker. So there's a very strong chance for him to getting everything he wants. As he seems like there is no, it doesn't seem like he's going to Scansion here, attaching the Bursting Balloon to the active Shaman EX.
But yeah, so it seems like he's just going for Fiestica for a Sycamore, and then he just is going to end his turn there. So play passes back to Scott. Now, Daniel might be doing this just because, as we already mentioned, he does have a Trevenant in hand. And
Yes.
perhaps maybe even his third Trevenant could be in the prize cards. Maybe,
Exactly,
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking about. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to not put item lock, because he knows, well, Scott's didn't do anything for like the whole game. Actually, he only played Sycamore and then attach energy. But now he is afraid of double time puzzle, which Scott actually puts down in this moment. He can get everything he wants. He can get the Sycamore, which is already in the discard pile. Cards like Floatstone, double colorless energy. He has the full palette here to choose what he needs.
If he really wanted to, he could, in theory, get back that Seismitoad and that double colorless. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily, again, if he's hitting for only 30 damage against a bursting balloon, he would take 60 back. So, I mean, it probably wouldn't work out, but I mean, that's something he can do. But it looks like instead he's opted to take an Ultra Ball and a Muscle Band. And this makes a lot of sense. You know, he has this turn free to attach items, and of course, with the Muscle Band, he can just, take the KOs a lot more easily. And with the Ultra Ball as well, he can just be certain.
Oh! Yeah, he might be able to get the Gallade in play. He has like only Maxi in his hand.
So this could be big, folks. This could be the first Gallade we've seen on stream this weekend, I believe.
Yeah, it would be the first, as long as he is in a discard pile, which I'm not entirely sure about. But he discards the Versus Seeker with Ultra Ball, and he has Maxi in his hand. So I'm very certain we are going to see a Gallade here.
Yeah, so he must have been down, and there's a Maxi's hidden ball trick. He must have just discarded a Gallade earlier.
Yeah, here it is. So Gallade the first time, Maxi's hidden ball trick. Now he also draws 5 cards, going for Premonition against item lock. This is amazingly strong. Gallade 150 HP is, while it's weak to Trevenant, it can still deal a lot of damage. So, and also Trevenant has resistance, but just having Premonition, there are 5 additional cards. You can just put the supporter on top all the time.
Yeah, it's just a really great consistency booster, and not only that, but of course, for the weakness to apply, Daniel would have to attack with Tree Slam, because of course Silent Fear only places damage counters, doesn't actually do damage.
Yes.
And even then, with a Tree Slam, 60 with double for weakness 120, that's still not enough to knock out a Gallade in one hit.
Yeah, so very great turn by Scott. He got the double time puzzle, and you can see double time puzzle is not just good to get your double colors energies get back, good to get supporters, good to get like special energies. It's also amazing to have everything you need to put this Gallade in play, and which is why also the one Gallade, one Maxi's hidden ball trick pays out so often, because of double time puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. The time puzzle, puzzle of time, we should say, engine just makes it a lot easier to be able to pull off these turns where, even in the middle of a game, not necessarily in turn one, you just, thin your hand out to the point where you just leave the Maxi as last card in hand and you manage to get your Gallade out, and Scott's got to be very happy about that turn.
Yeah, now Scott might attack or not, but he chooses a smart way and just pass, because there is no energy to attach. The damaged Shaman doesn't really help him because it has a psychic energy. My opponent will retreat it. Why would I take the 60 damage on my Evitar, which then is going to be knocked out by Tree Slam? So he just passes his turn. This is also something we see a lot of Evitar players do. If they don't just always pass their turn, when your opponent has a Bursting Balloon, they get a lot of damage, but since Trevenant only deals 30 damage, just waiting a turn actually makes you take less damage. So just passing is very frequently seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just talk about Scott's list for a bit, we have the list here in front of us. We can see it's very interesting. He actually, unlike Oliver's list, which we saw earlier, he's not doing like a heavier focus on the Zoroark. He's not playing any of the Zoroark Break, for example, and he's not playing any of the Fright Knight Evoltal either. He's just playing 3 of the Evoltal from XY, 2 of the EX, and 2 Zoroark line, and you see the Gallade there as well, and of course the 1 Seismitoad. So this is obviously, it's very interesting to see this sort of variation in Evoltal decks. There's a lot of different routes and avenues that you can go by in order to build this list, but this is obviously the build that Scott's decided is the best for him, and it's worked out really well so far. Yeah,
now Scott plays Lysander for Phantom because of the weakness. Oblivion Wing will be dealing 60 damage, which is enough to knock it out. And he's powering up his Evital EX. Trevenant also is weak to Darkness Pokemon. So this guy is going to... Well, Scott is trying to take out the Trevenant. So Daniel really has to draw his weakness policy when he plays the Sycamore next turn.
Yeah, he really does. And of course, Scott having that Lysander to bring the Phantom into the active and now being able to put the Float Stone as well on the Zoroark, now he's just going to have a lot more flexibility to be able to decide what to attack with. And it means that, because the Gallade has a fairly high retreat cost, so now that that's no longer an option where if he puts out, might be stuck with active for a bit, he can just attack with Gallade and then later on just stand in with the Zoroark and retreat to something else. And he just has that really good flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. He can choose whatever he wants. And also, if he didn't put the Float Stone down, he wouldn't be able to do the turn I just said, like, Oblivion Wing and then attack with Evital EX because he would need more energies to retreat. But Scott, with Premonition, always knows what comes next. And that's very great for the deck. And we see Daniel, it seems like he struggles to find his weakness policy. We see Stadiums versus Seekers, just, Silent Fear, 32 every Pokemon, and now Scott knows, that's half of the bill already. Daniel has Wobbuffet on the bench. Evital has 100 damage, so for one energy card, Wobbuffet is going to deal 110 damage to the Evital, but still it doesn't really matter that much. And also Scott has the option to attack with Zoroark Break instead of Evital EX to knock out the Trevenant, and then get rid of the Wobbuffet with his Evital EX. So he has a lot of considerations to make here. Additionally, he might deal 30 with Oblivion Wing and then knock out with like Gallades to be safe. But he has a few options here. Most likely going to see Evital EX coming down.
Yeah, no, Scott actually, he doesn't, from what we see in this, he doesn't actually play the Zoroark Break, but of course he could just attack with the non-break Zoroark, which you see he already has there.
Of course, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And then we see that is indeed the option he's going to go for. So he's going to stand in. Oh no, sorry, he's going to.
He already attached an energy to the Gallade, then going for Evil Ball, dealing much more than he needs against Trevenant's Break's weakness. And Daniel now, I think he's out of Trevenant's.
No, he has one in his hand, so he's probably going to evolve that now. Although he's going to attach to the Wobbuffet. So he's got this replacement stadium, so that's good as well. Unless. Is that not a Trevenant? Oh, yeah, it is a Trevenant in his hand. So, but it seems like he wanted to just... He seems like... Because the thing is with the Wobbuffet is that it's the thing that can actually knock out the Evital. So, it makes sense to... At this point, both players are so low on items that this is just it's just a play that, I guess, makes more sense than, just locking items and not being able to attack.
Also, because of the 3 prize card turn Daniel had early on, he only has 1 prize card left anymore. So, Scott just needs to knock out the Wobbuffet. With something that doesn't get knocked out immediately. If Daniel gets 2 hits with his Trevenant Break, he knocks out the Evital on Scott's bench. So Scott knows, when this Trevenant hits and I don't knock it out, it will be a hard time for him. But together with Premonition, which he unfortunately can't use in this situation because of the Wobbuffet being active, he might be able to get everything he needs. He picks Lysander, which will put him out of the item lock with his Versus Seeker, in case Daniel takes a Trevenant Break. And then he can just take 2 prize cards on Shaymin and win the game this way. Yeah,
it is unfortunate though, because as we noticed, there's actually 2 things on Scott's field that are 2 Silent Fears away from a knockout. That Zoroark in the active as well as the Yveltal on the bench. So if there's only one of them, he can maybe just sort of AZ one of them to deny that prize from Daniel. But as it stands, we'd have to AZ twice to sort of do that double prize denial against Daniel.
Exactly. Yeah, he plays AZ, but he's also able to deal a lot of damage. And now he unfortunately used Premonition with Wobbuffet active, seeing there is a Trainer Mail on top of his deck. Judge decision is going to be made, which will be... He shows the card to both players. Now it's like public knowledge. Daniel knows which card it is, an item, good for him. And Scott knows which card it is, an item, not so good for him. So, yeah, that's an kind of easy fix made here.
Yeah, it is. And this is just done so that, so that both players have the same knowledge of that card. So this is just the easiest way to, fix the game state.
Yeah, exactly. There are some situations in which this showing both players a card doesn't really help, and you would rather shuffle the deck at some point. For example, decks that use like that use Unknown or Acrobike or Trainer Mails themselves. Then you might consider shuffling the deck, so there's no advantage gauge from the player knowing, okay, the card I want is on top of my deck, so I just play Acrobike. Or when they know, oh, my top card is very bad, and then play something to shuffle the deck, then it might be more important for the judge to shuffle the deck. But in this situation, the judge decided to, just show to both players, and it's fine.
Yeah, indeed. So we see that Daniel looked through his deck with a Battle Compressor. He's going to send a Sycamore off of that, and he has 2 Psychic Energy left in the deck. So a Tree Slam is not outside of the realms of possibility. Of course, something that he has to be concerned about is that Zoroark is only a double colorless away from being able to take a knockout if Daniel puts anything more on the bench.
Yes, he is still trying to get this weakness policy, and he gets it from the last card from Sycamore.
Yeah, okay,
but no energy card.
No energy card. This is sort of it's good and it's not so good at the same time, because obviously having that weakness policy means that that Trevenant Mega is going to last a lot longer. But yeah, at the same time, he really just wants to see an energy here. He's got 2 left. There it is, a little bit.
Yes, with the trainer. Yes, and now we see it. It always comes and says, "Hello, I'm an energy," and then it goes back to the deck again.
Yeah, sorry, can't stay for long.
Yeah, exactly. So Daniel might consider, what do? I know my opponent has Lice Siren in his hand. And he can't draw a prize card. Scott just Lice and a Shaman knockout, and he wins.
Yeah.
So Daniel's going through his options here, decides to... Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
Scott has everything he needs to win.
Yeah, because with that Lysander, of course, the sensitive blade attack will do 60 plus the 70 more for a supporter being played, and 130 damage minus the 20 resistance from the Shaman will still be
and
enough
Scott
for a
wins the game 1 in this match, knocking out Shaman for his last 2 prize cards with sensitive blade basic Pokemon, as I like to say. He has 2 Wobbuffet and 2 Shaman, which is very rare. Usually you play like 3 Shaman in this deck and no Wobbuffet at all. But Wobbuffet is important to deal a lot of damage. So he cut down his Shaman to have a higher chance to actually start the Phantom.
Yeah, and that's probably also why, but to sort of mitigate that, he's upped his Battle Compressor count to be able to still have that heightened chance of drawing the Wally or the aggressive Yes Seeker. And it looks like he has started with a Phantom here, so we'll see. Is he going to be able to get it again? It's a very likely yes, but anything can happen. Yeah,
exactly. The chance of starting Phantom in this list he has with 4 other basic Pokemon is like 57%. So it will happen like every second game, a bit more than every second game. But also, if you start with something else, he plays 2 floats and 1 Mystery Energy. Mystery Energy is used to retreat Wobbuffet, but of course he would rather start with Shaman if he doesn't get the Wobbuffet, because Shaman can be retreated by just a Psychic Energy card. And while Wobbuffet is active, you can't use Setup ability, so you need everything already in your hand.
Yes, you do indeed. So we see that Daniel plays down the Dimension Valley. He's going to play a Shaman, so just to start filling up his hand. We don't see a Wally yet, but maybe this Trainer's Mail could find it for him? No,
but an Ultra Ball. So with Ultra Ball, he can Shaman set up.
Yeah, hopefully you just find the Wally off of that. Unless, of course, the second Shaman is prized. I mean, that's something that could happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's also one of the reasons a lot of players opt to go for more than 2 Shamans in most of the lists.
Yeah, but we're just going to have to see. And he has opted to discard his Super Rod there, so that will take away the option for him being able to get back his Trevenants later on in the game, which could be a factor. But no, okay, we see the other Shaman is in the deck, so he's going to be really, really hoping for either a Battle Compressor Yes Seeker or just drawing manually the Wally off of this.
Yeah, exactly. So he will put down the Shaman, draw some cards. He has Verse Seeker in his hand, so he just needs Battle Compressor to start with. We see the first 3 cards, Bursting Balloon, Battle Compressor, so he gets the Wally. It's also interesting to look at the cards he discards beside the 1 Wally. Like, of course he wants to discard the Wally, but what do you want to discard as well? He most of the time he just discards all of his Wally. Like, no, I need a turn 1, and then if I really need another one, I can Versus Seeker for it, but I would rather draw through different cards. Then he can also discard like his Xerosic. He can discard a Professor Sycamore, Judge, Delinquent to have the supporter options later, or he can discard more Battle Compressors. But he's going for the 2 Wally, 1 Battle Compressor, don't need discards later. And then Versica Wally into Trevenant.
Yeah, absolutely. You can sort of see like the look of sort of excitement, the change in body language. As soon as he saw the Battle Compressor, it's just like, oh yeah, this is what I need in life.
Exactly. And he got a Bursting Balloon, which, he attaches it. So if Scott attacks with a Pokemon, it will get 60 damage. Of course, if he Sky returns, the damage will be put away from the Shaman because it's not knocked out, and then Shaman gets 60 damage, you put it in your hand, doesn't have damage anymore. And then he just promotes Yveltal, which again can hit for weakness, which is Scott's great game plan. And now maybe Daniel seems his weakness policy this time.
Yeah. So I mean,
Again for the last card, it's amazing. So, okay, weakness policy here. 3 tree slams are going to take it.
Yeah, it does seem that Scott, all he did during that turn was, just attach the double colors and use Sky Return. So yeah, the Bursting Balloon didn't do much, but it might not even need to do that much. I mean, if Scott doesn't end up seeing just something to work with, I mean, we haven't got the best look at his hand right now, but yeah, all Daniel needs to do is 3 tree slams, and he will take this game.
Yeah, in theory he could tree slam once and then attack with Wobbuffet, but unfortunately Treven had 3 retreat cost. And if he attaches an energy to the active Trevenant, he can't attach it onto the Wobbuffet. But Scott plays Lysander and he has Shaman in his hand. If he has like a lot of item cards, maybe Ultra Ball, then he can have a huge turn of items.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that was like the card he drew off the top of his deck as well. So a really, really big top deck for Scott, because he's now, I like to call it the moment when like the item floodgates open. So you just you're just holding onto these items, and then you just play that Lysander, and then I'm just going to play absolutely everything that I can because I'm not going to get an opportunity to later.
Yeah, so Scott is considering which cards to discard here. He takes some item cards. He puts Maxi Sycamore and Gallade. Maxi Gallade is usually the first thing you discard after a Battle Compressor, but, well, now he can Auto Ball. He has Versus Seeker in his hand. Maybe he has a second one, and then he can play Versus Seeker for Sycamore.
Yeah, and you see that he's going for the Ultra Ball. He's going to grab himself Yveltal EX. Is of course just generically one of the strongest attackers in the game. Just being able to punish your opponent for attacking too many energy with that Evil Ball attack. And of course against something like Trevenant, it's just something with a lot of HP. So Trevenant can really struggle sometimes to KO it. It has to take maybe a lot of free shots, maybe with 3 tree slams to knock it out. Even more if for example there's a Fighting Fury belt attached to it. Although having said that, Scott has not opted to play a Fighting Fury belt. He has opted just to go for the Muscle Bands instead. Yeah,
Muscle Band adds a lot of damage. You can Sky Return for 50, which correlates with a lot of different counts. Also, with Reverse Valley, Muscle Band, Yveltal EX deals 120 damage with Y-Cyclone, and Oblivion Wing with Muscle Band and Reverse Valley deals 60 damage, so he has this 180 damage. Perfect damage amount with Muscle Bands, which wouldn't be possible if he opts to go for Fighting Fury Belt. And Scott goes for another Battle Compressor, this time just getting rid of all of his item cards, discarding Battle Compressor, Trainer Mail, Ultra Ball. Yeah. Very good cards that you would never discard in a situation which is not item lock.
And it really is these I guess micro decisions whether you are deciding what to discard off a Battle Compressor, and you're not just in the mentality where you're discarding his heavies every single time. Scott realizes that he has to approach what he discards with Battle Compressor differently because he is up against the Trevenant deck with the item lock, and he's just and because of that he's just realized that he just needs to approach that differently. And we see now that Daniel is going to play a Trainer's Mail. And
yeah, Scott is forced to attach the Darkness Energy for Oblivion Wing, which he forgot.
So it seems like Scott has just forgotten to attach a basic Dark Energy from his discard pile to a bench Pokemon. It's actually the Oblivion Wing attack when you use it. It is mandatory. If you do have a Dark Energy in his discard pile, you have to attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. So he's just attaching that to the Yveltal there. Yeah,
Scott managed to discard it with his Ultra Ball after he played Lysander. And Daniel's turn, he gets Trainer Mail, Ultra Ball, and now he has a Trevenant Break and is able to deal damage to Yveltal EX.
Yes, indeed. So the Trevenant Break, of course, is going to put on the Silent Fear, placing 3 damage counters on all of the opponent's Pokemon. But before that, Daniel is going to play yes, he could just grab a Sycamore. His hand is, of course, empty, so he's going to not discard anything and just draw a fresh 7 cards.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of Yveltal in the Swiss rounds, and like a kind of high amount of Trevenant as well. And Daniel is the Trevenant player in the top 4, and 2 weakness policy really paid off for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes a lot of sense because if you have this one matchup which is a lot more awkward because they do hit your weakness all the time, then just taking for your 1 weak matchup or weaker matchup I should say means that you just have that greater chance of beating your weak matchup that you might not have otherwise, which makes all the difference, especially when you have a really large 8-round tournament like the UK National Championships.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Scott was able to attach a Muscle Band to his Yveltal EX, which will make him deal more damage, which also might be just the damage he loses from the weakness policy. Trevenant has 60 damage, 100 HP left, so he can Y-Cyclone for 110 and then get a knockout. But Daniel is preparing another Trevenant break with a weakness policy on his bench already.
Yeah, no, but of course the interesting thing to know about this Trevenant break is that it's evolved from the Nervous Seed Trevenant from Breakpoint, which we saw in the last time he was on stream as well. So of course this will make all Scott's basic Pokemon pay 1 more colorless energy to attack if it's in the active spot, and it will do 70 damage plus 10 more for each energy on the opponent's active Pokemon. So it's pretty decent against Yveltal, but perhaps not really. I think ideally Daniel would probably prefer to have just another item locking.
Yeah, exactly. He rather has this one than the non-Trevenant at all. But of course, if he attacks with it, he gives Scott a turn to play Maxi, double time puzzle. And the moment Scott plays down double time puzzle, he already has the Gallade in play. There's like no way to not get it when you have every single card in your discard pile. You can pick like all your Ultra Balls. You can get double Ultra Ball. You can get like just the Maxi itself. Cards like Unknown there. So Daniel doesn't really want to attack with it, but at this point he's kind of forced to.
Yeah,
so
especially
a bit problematic.
At this point late, because what we saw last game, of course, was him doing Scott doing that double puzzle of time towards the later stages of the game, where, of course, because the discard pile will be so full of these items, you can pick exactly the 2 cards you need to make sure that you'll be able to pull off that Maxi Sin ball trick, and that's exactly what happened. And you see Daniel here, he's attached a bursting balloon to the
Wobbuffet, yes.
And then he's going to be able to use the attack to just damage the Psychic Assault to put an extra 70 damage on the Yveltal EX.
Yeah, unfortunately this 70 damage is exactly not the amount he wants. If it's now the Yveltal has 130 damage, and if Daniel goes for the Yveltal break, he would deal 30 damage to for the Trevenant break. I mean, he would deal 30 damage to Yveltal, and then it would have 160 damage. 10 short.
Yeah, and we've seen exactly what we were discussing earlier. We've seen he has got the 2 puzzles of time in his hand, so he's debating. It looks like he might actually take a Lysander here, and of course this makes a lot of sense. It means that, I mean, if as long as this Yveltal EX survives the turn, he'll be able to use that to take the last knockout on the Shaman EX on Daniel's bench and take the game from there. Yeah,
exactly. Scott has 4 prize cards left. If he knocks out 2 Shamans, he wins. So he just needs to make sure he can take out 2 Shamans here.
Yeah.
So he has Zorak in his hand already. We might see a knockout from Zorak here, but he opts to go for the second Yveltal EX. If he finds a Muscle Band, then it's almost already ready enough to get a knockout for Shaman EX.
Yeah, he is just sort of making sure that he has something available to attack with. Of course, from what we see, the Trevenant break on the bench does not have any energy on it, so you'll be able to do Silent Fear next turn with the Dimension Valley, but he won't be able to do the Breakpoint Trevenant's Nervous Seed attack. And we see there, he's just working out he's going to do a White Cyclone. So this just works out absolutely great because it means that he can, next turn, he's pretty much guaranteed to have an attacker ready to go, and all he needs to do is just, either attach an extra energy maybe for an Evil Ball, or or if a Muscle Band or White Cyclone will guarantee the win.
And the problem is, if Daniel attacks with Wobbuffet now, he will lose the game, because Scott has double colors. Scott most likely has any energy card in his hand, and if he plays double colorless, Daniel knows, my opponent has Lysander, so it's in a very, very weird spot. Scott can has double time puzzle, then he wins immediately.
Yeah.
But he has a 0-6, so this is not an option for him.
Yeah, that's very, very big. Of course, something actually, an Evil Ball wouldn't have been enough with 4 energy. Scott would have needed another double colorless, because then that would have been able to do 120 damage. But as it stands,
he can White Cyclone with Muscle Band, and then it's 110, or he just detach another double color, and he could Evil Ball.
Yeah, so you just need to see, there's the Muscle Band, and it's
there's DC, and there's the Lysander. Scott wins, advanced to the finals, and he is going to meet